Okay, when doing the other video, I came upon a point reinstalling the crossover relief valve where I actually lost footage. So we're going to do that with this same unit again and show you how to install it. So here we actually have a Meyer crossover relief valve, and I'll show you how we install it. Now it so happens the way that these come, this part's already assembled. You can see the bushing is inside the O-ring and the poppet is inside of the O-ring as well. It stays in place real nice when you do it this way. I know that in the manual they tell you to dip all the parts in oil when putting it together, but that actually makes it difficult. Excuse me. We're actually going to do it a little different because we've also found that it's easier to do it a different way than what they actually recommend. So we'll show you that as well. Now, these two O-rings that came assembled on here have to come off. The one on the bottom has to be removed completely, and the other one just needs to lay loosely on there. What we need to do now is put this one in the cavity and make sure we get it seated all the way to the bottom of the cavity. And to do that, I have a piece of brass rod that works well. So I'm going to use my trusty flashlight to make sure I get this seated fully all the way in the bottom of the cavity. It's important that it's seated properly in the bottom of the cavity, or else this valve won't go together properly. Okay. There we have it at the bottom of the cavity. Now, the way that we do this, I have a deep 7mm socket. Clean this off with some solvent. Dry it off with the air. Okay, now I'm going to put a little oil on here. It'll help it seat easier. Spread the oil around. Now you want it to just sit on there loose. You don't want to put it into position. It's got to go into position in the cavity. So we're going to slide it in there. Work our way in. Work it in there past the threads. Don't want to disturb the poppet. And we take our socket, which fits over this nicely, and we take the washer that belongs on here. If you look at the order of assembly, we place the washer on, get that in a position, and then we put our socket over it and use this to drive it in. A few light taps of the hammer. You want to make sure it's seated. That's it, it's in. Now, normally that's a pretty difficult task if you follow the instructions and coat everything with oil. So, next we're going to insert the barrel. And then we're going to insert the washer, small one. I'll hold that up for you. Taper faces out. So we're going to hold this with our needle nose pliers and slip this onto the poppet. Get that in there. And then we have our other piece. We have our spring. That goes next. And then inside our parts bag, we have a small disc that goes down in the bottom of this piece. We're going to put a couple of drops of oil in here first. Drop our disc in there. Make sure it's seated. A couple more drops of oil on top of the disc. Then we put our spring on top. We screw it in. The threaded part has two flats on it for a 3/8 wrench. Tighten that down. You'll feel it when it bottoms. You don't need to get carried away. Being that it's a 3/8 wrench, I don't know if you can see it, but because this is a genuine Meyer crossover relief valve, there's a little bit of Loctite on the threads of this bolt. This is the adjusting bolt. That's how you adjust the pressure, the relief pressure. Proper setting is 3,800 psi plus or minus 50 psi. We can't set that until we have the unit on the test stand. So what we do is we tighten this down to where it's almost making contact, which is pretty close to where it's got to be. You could probably fit a razor blade in between the head of the bolt and the part that it threads into. And in our bag we have the O-ring for the acorn nut. Now, I talked about that these may weep a little, which is normal, and this is part of the reason why. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a small notch right here in the acorn nut. And that allows the oil to seep past, which keeps this lubricated. So, put our O-ring on our acorn nut, and thread it on. Sometimes it stays, sometimes it doesn't. You want to make sure it's in position when you screw it on there. Take our 13/16 wrench, give it a slight snug, and there you have it. New crossover valve installed.